A law that would increase civics education in public high schools is making its way through the State House. Last month, the Senate passed the bill, which will move on to the House next. I sat down with State Senator Eric Lesser and State Representative Solomon Goldstein-Rose, who've been integrally involved in the creation of this potential law, to find out more.
The bill started a long time ago. Civic education has been underdone in our schools for quite a while, and there was a group called Teens Leading the Way out of Haverhill and Lowell, UTech, youth groups that tried to bring civics back, and this has been going on for many years. The representative that's tied with me for youngest at 24 in the House, when he was 16 8 years ago.
So he was a part of that group, right?
Yeah.
So he's been on both sides of this. It's kind of interesting.
He advocated for the bill as a part of Teens Leading the Way, and now he gets to be part of this working group as we see it over the finish line. More recently, there's this reaction to the 2016 presidential election and people seeing the lack of awareness of how the system works and the lack of connection with government systems. And there was a lot of frustration born out of lack of connection with government systems themselves in 2016. And so people are realizing, hey, we need to reconnect with this. We need to teach people about how democracy works.
Because right now in high schools and even in some middle schools, this is all sort of suggested. You can take the courses, they're available, but if this is actually approved by the legislature, it would be law. And the Senate recently took this up. There was an amendment that Minority Leader Tarr proposed, and it would have, quote, required respectful tolerance of differing opinions. It wasn't approved. Seems like a good idea. Why didn't that move forward?
Yeah, it's absolutely a good idea, and it's something everyone agrees with. In fact, the whole reason why we want to bring civics back into school curriculums, and part of the way we structured this bill is to have it be experiential, so we want elements outside of the class as well, is because we want to give people the tools to engage with the democratic process civilly. That amendment was redundant to the language that was already in the bill. This happens a lot in politics, for better or worse. There's a lot of amendments that come through the process at the end of the gate. The bill was written through a bipartisan, bicameral effort that was over 18 months in the making, and as Solomon has pointed out, actually started years before that with dozens of groups representing every constellation of the political system coming to the table to work on it. And the entire point of the bill is to foster civility and discourse in the political process. So sometimes amendments like this can get added that are redundant to language that's already in the bill, and when that happens, you usually have to say no to that amendment. Otherwise, you end up with a Swiss cheese, piece of legislation.
And the broader Senate did go on to approve this, so it's moved forward.
Exactly.
It'll move forward to the House now.
And it's worth pointing out, Minority Leader Tarr voted for the final bill, even though that amendment wasn't included. So there's a whole bunch of amendments that some make them, some don't, but the general point of the bill was universally supported in a bipartisan way, which was to get more civics into our public schools.
And a primary piece would require a student-led civics project. You would need to do that if you were going to complete high school. It would be a requirement. Any examples of what you think that might look like, either of you?
Absolutely. You can fit into existing classes. We did, in my 10th grade U.S. history class, a biography project where we had to find someone over a certain age that moved along over the years to higher and higher age.
We did too, and I did mine on JFK. I remember that now that you're...
we had to find someone local and interview them in person. And so I actually did mine on Ellen Story, my predecessor, and talked to her about how she got involved with politics, that kind of thing. Doing a research project. I have interns in my district office that are both college and sometimes high school students. Doing those kinds of experiences, even for very short times, people have done one research project for me. That kind of thing could fit into existing curriculum as this kind of project. I had a lot of teachers that encouraged me when I was in even elementary school through high school to be engaged and be empowered as a young person in Amherst and connect with government systems, learn about how the state legislature worked, how the local government systems worked, and that's why I've become a regular voter, why I ran for office, so to make sure that's standardized, that every student across the Commonwealth has the opportunity to participate in something hands-on like that.
And what do you hope that students, if this passes, what do you hope that students will take away from something like this?
Well, I think the bottom line is we want people to feel more connectivity to their democracy and to our system of government. The scary truth is that, especially millennials, people in our age group, one of the things that the research and frankly just common sense is showing us when you go out and talk to people is we're an ambitious generation. We want to see change. We believe in public service and the idea of volunteerism and the idea of community involvement. But what we're seeing is a lack of faith in our institutions and in our political process to solve big challenges. So my view is if this legislation encourages even a handful of students to feel more empowered and more connected to their democracy and able to move the needle on the issues that they care about, then it's well worth it.
As a practical matter, though, I could hear, if this were to move forward, critics of it saying, we already have standardized testing. Why add something else to the mix of things that we need to do? Mm-hmm. What would you say?
So one, we don't have standardized testing for social studies, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is looking into how do we incorporate social studies into our testing system in a way that maybe is a little more holistic than the problematic standardized tests we use right now.
Because right now we look at math and we look at English when we drill down on those two
Science
topics.
A little, but so we need to have a different conversation about standardized tests and how we incorporate all of that. But the one point I would make is this bill aligns with a process DESE is doing right now, the department, to rework the civics, the social studies curriculum in general, to include civics as a specific class during 8th grade. And we've been in conversation with DESE throughout this process. The working group has gone back and forth many times. And so the bill is somewhat a foundation in the section that says you will teach this and this, that aligns very much with the new framework curriculum DESE is going to come out with for social studies. And then going on top of that with this hands-on piece that's the crucial element because civics is inherently participatory. All of this can be worked into existing curriculum with existing staff and whatnot. So it's not requiring a new class in addition to anything else. And I think that's key in terms of making it implementable by teachers.
I think that's a very important point to get across, exactly what Solomon's saying. So we've heard loud and clear from school districts that they're overburdened, and the last thing our schools or our teachers need is another mandate jammed down their throats. So we know that, and we're very responsive to it. And this bill has been crafted to give maximum flexibility to school districts to craft a civics curriculum that is responsive to the needs of their community and to their schools. And again, it's about learning outside the four corners of a textbook and is about experiential learning, a service project, work outside of school that can count towards credit in school. And the final thing I would just want to say on this, Carrie, is there's an argument to be made that maybe we've gone a little bit far afield in the other direction on what public education should mean for our students. Since Horace Mann set up public schools in Massachusetts, the purpose was to prepare people to be active participants in their democracy. And I'd go so far as to say, yes, it's important to know the quadratic equation. Yes, it's important to memorize the periodic table of the elements. But if you're graduating from high school and you don't know how a bill becomes a law, you don't know how to petition your government, you don't know how to seek redress in the justice system if a right of yours has been infringed. Those are foundational principles of our entire system. And if we're not imbuing our students and our young people with that sense of empowerment that comes from that knowledge, that's a pretty big problem and a pretty big challenge. And I think we're seeing the effects of that in our politics now. So I think it's very important that we make sure that when people graduate, when they're 18, when they go out of high school, that they're empowered with that knowledge.
You hear the chant now, bring back Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
Just one more thing I want to ask you about quickly. The Senate passed a protection that would prevent lenders from sending an unsolicited check or money order to someone. What has been the fallout from this practice thus far?
Yeah, this is a big problem. We see these scams all the time. The way it usually works is you see these kind of big fake checks are sent mostly to seniors, unsuspecting seniors that say, hey, you've just won $10,000 or you've just received $1,000. People sign, they send it back, not realizing what it is, and before you know it, they've taken out a massive high-interest loan. It's a predatory practice. It's becoming increasingly common around the Commonwealth. This is a bill the Senate passed last session as well. We've passed it this session. Hopefully, we'll be able to work with our colleagues on the other side of the building to get it done.
Great. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.